Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining our special diagnostics live stream talking about the latest and greatest software that just was released, the fall 2024 software upgrade. Now we have a lot to talk about here, so let's get right into it. So it is going to help unleash the power inside your Snap-on Scan tool. And coverage, of course, keeps growing. We wouldn't release a new software update without more stuff in it, right? So let's talk about over the last 2 years how much this software has grown. So we can see system coverage. So this is the number of systems that are covered on these vehicles. So we have North America, we have European, and we have Asian, right? So 15% more coverage in systems, 29% in European, and 21% more in Asian. PID coverage, massive increase, especially in Asian, 34% increase. That's that's over a third more than we had 2 years ago, and 27% more in scripted functional tests, 15% more in European, 8% more in domestic. So always adding that coverage, and we're really focusing on the stuff that's in the shops right now by using our SureTrack information that we have, and then the repair orders and all that. We know what's in the shop, we know what's getting worked on, so we focus on what's being worked on right now. And speaking of that, so no one else in the industry can offer as much information as we do. 40 plus million real fixes. So those real world complaint cause correction tips that are written by real technicians, billions of repair events, hundreds of billions of scanner data points help provide us information for our fast track intelligent diagnostics information, millions of fast track guided component tests, and there's over 22,000 total location images available. So those are the color pictures that we started adding a couple releases ago, where it shows you here's the overview of the engine bay, and it kind of points to where it is, and then we show a closer detailed look at where the actual component is. There's over 1 million service resets and relearns. So if you have one of the tools that has that service resets and relearns menu underneath clear all codes, that is a quick access to any of the resets and relearns on the vehicle based by job. And there's over 1 million of those available now. Over 5 million fast track intelligent diagnostic PID flags. So if we think about the smart data tab that is in there, so there's over 5 million of those available. And it's not just on engine, it's on body systems, on chassis systems, and more. 700,000 more PID flags were added in this release alone. So over 700,000 more were included in this release. And that gets updated pretty regularly. Talk about real fixes again. So coming into the SureTrack. So some tools have SureTrack, some tools have fast track intelligent diagnostics, but they all basically pull from the same data. So real fixes, hundreds of billions of scanner data points and billions of shop repair events give us over tens of millions, over 10 million real fix tips. That's that complaint cause correction. Commonly replace parts graph by code based on mileage. Professional technicians author our SureTrack real fixes and fixed its. And community fixes from SureTrack community members, which you can be a part of if you have a current Snap-on Scan tool. You can log in to SureTrack and be part of the community as well. Now, why is that important to you? Well, it gives you that real-world experience that can help augment the OEM level data that you may already have. Helps diagnose and fix problem faster and correctly the first time. It's kind of like phoning the friend down the street, that sort of thing. Having this real-world, real-life information in there can really help with your diagnostics. Can't forget about guided component test either. That's one of my favorite parts of the tool because it's going to help you test the component first. Test the component instead of guessing. So vehicle-specific illustrated test procedures that show you where to connect, how to connect, and what the results should look like. There's been over 360,000 new engine system tests added in the last 2 years. And with this release, we added new Kia, Lexus, and Tesla vehicles into the guided component testing as well. And there's also 70 topic-based training courses on the tool itself. You don't even have to hook up to a car. You can just open up guided component tests, go to classes, and there they are. And we can see also over 100,000 more transmission tests added, almost 100,000 ABS and body electrical tests, and so on and so forth. I will be honest with you, this very large engine number kind of skews the graph a little bit, so we can't see the detail at the bottom, but thousands and thousands of additional new tests every single time we do a release. Also with this release, new guided component test instructions. So it used to be we had the small pictures with little arrows that kind of pointed on the tool where to plug in. Now they've been enhanced with much higher resolution graphics, and you can see it is specific to the tool. So here we are on connected to an engine coolant temperature sensor, and you can see how we have the scope module there, and we have the black channel and the yellow channel, channel 1 there, and there's where to plug in. And then down here we have the battery, and then if we scroll further down, which I'll show you a little bit later when we go live, it actually shows you where you would back probe on the connector as well. So A lot more detail added, and we'll be adding more of these as time goes on. You know, as updates come out, we'll add more of these going forward. Location images, talked about that. The last couple updates we added these in, and with this release, 3,000 plus more new locations added. So here's an example that looks like a maybe a vent solenoid, and then down here we have some variable valve timing actuators where they kind of press on the center of the camshaft there. So details like that. So if I've never worked on this vehicle before and I kind of have a rough idea where it is, but these detailed pictures help you and will point right to it. Many locations also offer multiple images to provide a view of the area and a detailed view of the component. And then, as I said earlier, over 1 million service resets and relearns now in the tool. So that is those quick access to the work-related functions. So let's say, hey, I replaced the windshield. What might I need to do? And it would have maybe a camera calibration test that I needed to do. Or I replaced the brake switch, or I need to replace brake pads. You know, it would walk you through all those different tests and functions and has them filtered down just to the test, so I don't have to look in different modules to try and find these resets and relearns. It's going to give you the core repair plus any other associated component. Fast Track Intelligent Diagnostics PID flags, right? So if you go into the smart data, these are the min-max values, and they will monitor those PIDs, and if it goes outside of spec, the flags turn red. So there's over 700,000 more added in this release, and there's over 5 million available across all the systems and all the codes that we cover for that. It's in things like transmission, brakes, hybrid vehicle and EV systems, tire pressure monitoring, body electrical, and of course we started with engine, so it's in there as well. And more systems being added all the time. We also have a new make added in Tesla. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail when we get a little further into the presentation. But yes, we have a new make in the tool that we cover, and it is Tesla, one of the highest selling vehicles in North America over the last couple of years. So we have that in there. We have pretty darn good coverage on that. Also new models. Maybe we already had the brand, but some new models that have been released. So the Alfa Romeo Tonale, vehicle communication software. So that's your scanner stuff. The Kia K5 and guided component test added. Lexus NX series, the NX 250, the 40, the 350, and the 500H. Guided component test added for those. And as I said, Tesla S, X, Y, and 3 vehicle communication software, as well as guided component tests in there. And we'll look at that in a little bit more detail going forward. 2024 model year updates. So at the beginning of the year, we always have at least code scan and clear on all vehicles because we know sometimes you might need to do a pre-scan on a vehicle with 5 miles on it that's brand new. So we have that in there so you can at least scan the systems. And then as we go, we add in more, you know, the engine, transmission, body control modules, brake control modules, all those other modules, codes, tests, functional tests, all that good stuff. So on these 15 makes listed here, we have that full 2024 model year coverage on all of these different brands. So that's always good. And then, like I said, as far as everybody else, pretty much any brand that's in the tool that has a 2024 model year vehicle, we have at least code scan and clear. So you can go in, you can do the code scan, you can do your pre-scan and post-scan. You can also clear all the codes globally. And then, like I said, as we go forward, you get that more additional stuff as you go forward. Let's talk about, get a little bit deeper and get into the coverage highlights. So we get a little bit more of the detail as to what's going on in here. So as far as Honda is concerned, so engine, power steering control module on the CRV, and on the CRV, the Clarity, the Civic, we have intelligent cruise control module, actuator tests, and special functions on all of those. And then 2019 and newer Passport engine actuator tests and special functions were added for those as well. Big update on the 2023 Hornet, 2023 and newer Dodge Hornet, because that's a new model for them. So other special functions added: ABS control module, occupant classification system, re-zero the occupant classification system, instrument cluster, doing service dates, maintenance mode, check air presence in the ABS unit, etc. So you can see all these different tests that were added for those Dodge Hornets. Ford, this is a pretty large update for Ford. Actually, it's a very large update for Ford. So more PMI. We started adding PMI, probably 3-4 years ago, I think it was now. And PMI is that programmable module installation. If I do a replacement of something on many newer Fords, you do have to do this PMI, where you're basically copying the configuration information out of the old module and then pasting it into the new module because it needs all that configuration information. For example, changing a steering rack on an F series, right? You need to do that. And that capability got added a little while ago. But in this case, just some samplings of what got added. So 11 to 17 Mustang for the power steering control module. So once again, that's for if you do a steering rack on that. Focus restraint control module. If you do that, you need to do PMI on that. 2023 and newer F series and Super Duties. New engines. So we get support for the Raptor, 6.8 to 7.3 gas engine, and the 6.7 diesel. Of course, that's in there. And then 39 different new body control modules across the Ford landscape that weren't able to be accessed before are now able to be accessed. Plus 2020 newer F-150 special functions and ABS, the engine, occupant classification module, and the automatic headlamp leveling system. Now this low pressure fuel system test, this is going to show up in a couple places. For example, on the Bronco, 2021 and newer Bronco. So we added electronic power assist steering, a bunch of new tests in there. That engine low pressure fuel system test, which can help you check for leaks. It automatically pressurizes the system and checks for leaks. And then the occupant classification module. I need to reset the passenger seat, perhaps. If I replace the seat or anything like that, I might have to recalibrate that seat. So that's it. And as I said, Tesla, this is a new OEM. Now, one thing about Tesla is they do things a bit differently than other legacy auto manufacturers, if you might put it that way, because they have never had a gasoline engine inside a Tesla, so they technically don't have to put a diagnostic connector in there. On the 2012 to 2020 Model S and the Model X, though, or 2016 and newer Model X, or to 2020, that has a DLC port underneath the dash. So you would plug it in like that, and you can go in with your scan tool, and you can scan it just like you would any other non-Tesla vehicle. However, the 2021 and up Model S and X, and then all Model 3 and Y vehicles do not have a 16-pin connector under there. So we have onboard function instructions on the scan tool. If you go in and ID one of those cars, it'll tell you how to find alert codes, how to unlock the gateway, and how to enable and disable service mode, all on the touchscreen in the car. It's actually have a pretty capable diagnostic program that runs in the vehicle itself to help you diagnose and perform tasks and so on. So that's with those vehicles. Now, I have also heard that 2024 and newer all Tesla models will have going back to that 16-pin diagnostic connector. So it's kind of an all over the board, kind of depends on what the model is and what year it is. But from what I've been told, 2024 and moving forward, they will go back to that 16-pin connector just to make it easier to connect for other tools, right? So they're fairly open source with a lot of their stuff. So it makes it, easier to diagnose. I guess it's different, but it makes it a little easier because the codes are very descriptive and the way you work through it is intuitive, I'll say, put it that way. So glad to have them on board. As far as European vehicles, BMW, a lot of new engine systems on the X6, so the Servotronic and Valvetronic 1 and 2. And then on the X6 Hybrid, a lot of suspension stuff. So integrated chassis management, vertical dynamics module, and all 4 damper satellite modules. So that'd be the 4 corners of the vehicle. Jaguar, active damping control module again. So that's some more chassis stuff, some more suspension stuff. And on the XF chassis control module as well. Mercedes, new subsystems on the C-Class and the EQE. Codes, clear codes, review ECID, etc. 2013 to 2019 CLA, engine gasoline particulate filter regeneration if equipped. So on the vehicles that are equipped with those, we haven't really started seeing them that much. We started seeing them, but we haven't seen them that much in the past in North America. They're fairly widespread over in Europe. So it's just like a diesel particulate filter, but it's gas. So using the gasoline particulate filter, you have to regen that too. So now we have that for the CLA. Volkswagen 18 and newer Crafter transmission. So Crafter is it's like the high top van that they have that looks like a Sprinter van. And the Touareg anti-lock brake control module, new functions in there. Let's go to guided component tests. Now, historically, if you know any history about Snap-on software updates, you will know that the fall update always gets more guided component test updates in the spring, because that's when we used to just update the Vantages. Now we update them every time. But this is another massive update, as historically would happen. So guided component tests new in there. Hyundai 2023 oil level sensor, active purge pump pressure sensor, active exhaust solenoid, and new location images added for the Tiburon. Kia's new model of the K5 on the 1.6 and 2 liter. All sorts of different things available. So like the oil level sensor, the purge pump, fuel tank differential pressure sensor. That could be helpful in evap diagnosis. And new location images on the Sorento, Carnival, and Sportage. Lexus, as I said, new models and new engines added in there. So 2022 NX250, the 450 plus the 350 with a new engine, and the 500H with the new engine as well. Mazda, all sorts of different things on the CX-5, the CX-30, different engines. Some ADAS coverage there as well. 2.2 liter diesel engine. So a lot of new guided component tests on that. Nissan, I'm not going to read them all off, but you can see engine and transmission on the Altima, Frontier, Murano. This one's big down here, I would say. 16 to 19 Titan 5-liter diesel. So component testing on ABS, engine, and transmission available there. Also the Titan 5.6. Subaru, engine and transmission, hybrid electronics on the Crosstrek hybrid. The new 2.4 liter or the newer 2.4 liter engine, transmission there. And the Legacy Outback and Forester there, engine and transmission as well. Toyota Corolla Cross, the clutch travel sensor, new engine on the Highlander, new engine on the Prius, both of those as well. Chevy Colorado Express, Silverado, and Camaro and Trailblazer and Equinox, all new engine coverage. The 3-liter diesel engine in the Silverado, the smaller diesel that they introduced, so coverage on that. Increased coverage for transmissions on the 6, 8, and 10 speeds on the Silverados. I know that's been highly requested. So that's in there, so you can test the solenoids and things like that. And then on the vans, same type of thing, right? 6.6 liter gas engine. Buick Envision engine, Chrysler 300, the 6.4 liter engine, Charger and Durango, the 6.2, and the Hornet. Like I said, we newly added the Hornet, so lots of new guided component tests available on that as well. Ford, like I said, this is a massive update for Ford, not just for vehicle communication, but also for guided component tests. So you can see it all listed here. I'm not going to really go that deep into it, but the 7.3 gas engine, once again, Bronco and Bronco Sport, Escape, where is it? Police Interceptor base engine. So that's big for municipalities that might have those in the fleet. So that's good. Lots of Mustang stuff as well. Maverick, Transit Connect. I know those are very popular as well. 2-liter gas and flex fuel engines there. And then Transit 150, 250, 350 on the 3.7 liter engine. I know that's a pretty popular one too. GMC is going to pretty much mirror what we did in Chevy, right? Because, you know, going to match Silverados to Sierra and so on. So more transmission stuff, more on the 6.6 liter gas, the 2.7. Jeep Compass on the 2 liter and the 2.4 and the transmission. And then Tesla, we have guided component tests as well. We're starting with ABS, and of course we'll add more systems as we go along because we do have like hybrid and electric systems tests in there already, so we'll just be adding more as we go along. But in the ABS module for 2022 and older, Model S and Model X, we have the ABS module, brake fluid level switch, brake pedal switch, brake booster, electronic parking brake actuator, eye booster, pedal sensor, and wheel speed sensor, and more in there. So yeah, pretty good add there. We got vehicle communication coverage in the scanner, and we get guided component test coverage as well. Scope. BMW, we can see all the different new engine coverages added there. So it looks like 2020 and newer for a lot of different, like the 40i's and the X5s and so on. And the hybrid engine there as well. Mercedes-Benz, AMG hybrid engine. A couple other hybrid engines there. Cam adjustment valve test for select 4-liter engines as well. So that was, I know that was a customer request. To be able to test those systems. So that's in there now as well. So that's the software, like the inner workings, how I'm going to communicate with the vehicle or test stuff on the vehicle. We have other things that also kind of go along with this and tie along with this as well. So Solus Plus, existing and new Solus Pluses, once they update to 24.4, which is the fall update, they now have option to change to Spanish. So I know we have a lot of Spanish-speaking folks out there that use our tools. If they have a Solus Plus, once they update it to 24.4, it will be displaying in Spanish. The majority of the tool, there are some things, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Like some of the stuff when we go into SureTrack, some of it is in English because it hasn't been translated yet. But all the menus, the PIDs, so on and so forth will be in Spanish. And I'm going to walk you through how to change it and change it back, and also show you a few of the a few of the things on the tool. We'll just go live on it in a minute. Also with this, due to that being multilingual, if I upload a pre-scanner, a post-scanner, an ADOS report, anything that goes up to the Snap-on Cloud in English or Spanish, I can then switch it back to English or Spanish up there. So it has a tag in there that allows it to be switched back and forth on the Snap-on Cloud. So we're actually going to go in there in a minute, and I'll show you how to do that. So on the report itself, there's a little toggle, and you can toggle it between English and Spanish. So that way, let's say you have a Spanish-speaking person using the scan tool, and they upload the scan, and then maybe the service writer doesn't speak a lick of Spanish, and they want to turn it back to English. They could do that, or maybe the customer doesn't speak Spanish, or maybe the customer does speak Spanish, and you want to be able to translate it for them so they can see it. Works both ways, right? So that's pretty helpful. Also on Snap-on Cloud, this function doesn't affect the reports, the uploads, or anything like that. It functions with the menus and things like that. So that is 8 different languages available. So German, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Dutch, Polish, and Portuguese. All available from this menu, and I'll show you how that works too in a little bit. So like it says, the user-generated text does not change. So that's the things like your uploads. Those get changed at the report level, and right now, as I said, it's English to Spanish. On the navigation, the menu, and everything else, with this setting, we'll change that. Also, as far as multilingual support, we have multilingual support on training as well. So, of course, since Solus Plus is now able to be translated into Spanish, we have Spanish training for the Solus Plus. And on all of our scan tools, all of our current scan tools anyways, we have French. So we have a lot of French-Canadian folks that use our tools. So you have now have French language training available on our website and on our YouTube channel as well. So that's been out for a little while, but we figured we'd talk about it now because, well, good a time as any, right? All right, let's walk through live on the tools and such and see what we can see. So the first one I want to do is going to be if I can get it up on the screen here, there we go, on the Solus Plus. So right now we see on my Solus Plus, it is in English. And I can go over here to tools down on the bottom right, the gears. And then we'll go to settings, which is on the bottom, the gears again. And then we'll go to system settings. And then you see down the bottom there, it says language. And it's in English. I can choose Spanish. And now everything's in Spanish, right? We can see all the menus are in Spanish. I'm going to go to my main menu, and we're going to see that everything there is in Spanish. Now, scanner, we figured out that, well, not to say we figured out, but we know that scanner is pretty universal between the two languages, so they understand, it doesn't matter what language you read, you know what it is. Same thing with OBD2, that's just a spec. So, but I will go into scanner, and we'll see that most of those are universal across languages too, except for like demonstration. I'll just pull up my trusty old Tahoe here. And you'll see on the top, it says the different VINs and stuff like that. Everything in that is in Spanish. All of that is in Spanish. Accept, continue. And then we want to do a code scan on that. And I'm going to do a pre-scan. Don't want to add new stuff. And it goes in. Notice how all of that's in Spanish. Scroll through. All the modules are in Spanish. And even now if I wanted to go into the engine, for example, and I wanted to look at data, let's just say engine data. That's all in Spanish. And then if we go to SureTrack information, this is where that one little difference is. So in the SureTrack information, the top repairs graphs have been translated. But down here, under the SureTrack information, this has not been translated. So this will still be in English. And that answers the question of why is it the Solus Plus only and not the other tools getting the Spanish? With time, perhaps it will. But there's a lot more translation that needs to go on in these things and the other like fast track intelligent diagnostics stuff that needs to go on before we could do that. So this is still in English, but that's in Spanish. And then if we come down here, the cards are in Spanish, but when you go into there, the articles are once again in English. So just be aware that that's going to be your difference right there. So, and that's why the Solus Plus is in Spanish and the other ones don't have it. So let's go back and switch it back. So I'm going to exit my vehicle. I'm going to go back into my gears for the settings. Gears again down the bottom. And then the first one is system settings. And if we go down the bottom, we see idioma. That is language in Spanish. Go in here, go to English, and we're back to English. Easy enough. Quick view on that. All right, let's go to, pull this up. It's down here. And we'll go all this drive. Just log in real quick. And no. Okay, so there are all of my uploads here. And I'm just going to go look in the, so the Solus Plus is when you do uploads, it uploads also the scan tool part number, just so you can look things up like that. So here's an example here, vehicle system report that is in English. If I open it up, it's in English. Close it, go back, see it's in English, pull that tab down, go to Spanish. Now it's in Spanish. I open it up, comes up in Spanish. And I can switch back and forth just that easily. Go to English, go to Spanish. Go to English, go to Spanish. Now, as far as the website, navigation, things like that, we go up here on the right, and we can change it into German and so on and so forth. So let's say I want to change it to Dutch. And yeah, and even Google even recognized that it's in Dutch. So there's some Dutch right there. There's some Dutch right there. There's select in Dutch, right? So we can see just the words, menus. Look down here on the bottom. We can see the different menus. Those are in a different language as well. So and then easily enough, just switch it back to English. And there we go. All right. So a couple great enhancements for our global folks who are working around the world, or maybe maybe you just prefer your native language when you're navigating the website. That's fine too. We have that capability. All right, let's look at my notes out here. Let's see, did that. All right, next one. I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to do a little comparison, right? So this is the spring software update 24.2, and I'm going to go into guided component tests, and I'm going to pull up a Dodge. Actually, I think I got it in my right here. Yeah, I do. So Dodge Charger now, it's 2022 Dodge Charger. I'm going to activate it. Go into guided component tests. Go into engine. And I want to pull up, say, like the oil pressure sensor and do a voltage test. And you'll notice we do have the connector views. We've always had the connector views, but there isn't that hookup view that I showed you earlier. So if I switch over to my updated tool and go to my previous vehicles, so Dodge Charger. Now this is a 2023 Dodge Charger because, well, we can't even do 2023 Dodge Chargers in the older software because it's not listed. The oil pressure sensor here, DC voltage test, and then there are my high-res graphics, right? So there's my scope module, there's ground, there's channel 1, I can plug it in there. There is my ground, and if we come all the way down here, there is showing back probing at the connector terminal, and then, of course, the connector terminals down here. And actually, if you look at this, those look a bit bigger than the other one as well. So it looks like maybe they've increased the size on those, which is another not bad thing, especially if you're hard of seeing. Okay. Next one I'm going to show you is the Ford fuel test. So on the Bronco. I'm going to go into the engine system, of course. And we'll go into functional tests. And it's a special function. And we see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different functional tests, including programmable module installation. If I go over to my other one, do the same thing. On scanner. Engine. Functional tests, special functions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the new one is this gas low pressure fuel test for direct injection. So I click on that. It's going to make sure we turn our ignition on. And it says for this test is powertrain self-test has previously been run to detect DTCs associated with low pressure and the high pressure fuel systems, fuel injectors, fuel rails, etc. Ignition must be on, key on, engine off. Make sure the vehicle battery is sufficient charge to carry out the test. Continue. Oh yeah, it's behind security as well. Secured functional test. And then what it's gonna do is it's gonna turn the pump on and off, and it's gonna check for pressure drop. So in this case, our low side fuel pressure is 386, and then it'll so on it was 386, off is 386, and then it will check for a drop. In this case, it goes for 10 seconds to find a gross leak. So if it has a very large leak, of course, it's going to leak down a lot faster. So it's going to do a measurement there. Good is, now this is a simulator too, so it just throws the same numbers in there. But it also shows you what good is. So on pressure should be here. Off pressure should be here. So if this was a normal vehicle, that would be okay. Gross leak pressure it's got to be greater than or equal to 186 kilopascals. And then it'll show you the drop up here. It has 0 drop, which makes sense. And then now it's counting down in the bottom corner here. It's a 60-second leak down test. So that's for if I have a smaller leak, it would, of course, take a lot longer to leak down in that case. So I got about 15 seconds. So I'll take a sip of water. Give it a few more seconds. This does go through the whole test on the simulator, so that's good. Tells you whether the pump's on or off at the time, what the pressure drop was measured. And in this case, there's your final results. So it's an automated test, takes about 75 seconds or so. In this case, maybe take a little longer on a real car, but I would say under 2 minutes on that. So be able to check that. Pretty helpful. Then turn the ignition off, and you're good. All right, now the other two, well, we don't have those on the older software anyway, so there's nothing to compare. So I'm just going to pull up this Tesla. So this is a 2016 Model S 70D. So that's a dual motor, 70 kilowatt hour battery. I'm going to go in a scanner and let's see what we can find. So we can either display the active ECUs on the vehicle or all possible ECUs. In this case, I just want to show you what all could be on there. We can do a code scan through the whole vehicle. We can clear all the codes with the code scan. And then we can see down here common selections like occupant classification system, right? The weight thing in the seat. Special functions. I can go in there and do resets and airbag occupant classification re-zero. So that's pretty common on a lot of vehicles. So got that in there. On a lot of these modules, you are going to see a lot of hard resets, reset ECUs, and soft resets because a lot of times that's how they fix problems on these cars. A lot of the problems on the cars, unless it's been like a collision or it's like a chassis problem or something like that, electronically in the computer system, oftentimes it's just a reset it, unplug it, plug it back in type thing, but doing it with software. Or oftentimes they'll force a software update over the air to the car and that fixes the problem, right? So it's like bugs and glitches that they find. So a lot of these modules, if you go in there, you're going to find that's what it is. Example like the autopilot, right? So that's going to be hard and soft resets, reset the ECU. Back up here, going to come down to battery management system. So obviously the thing's basically a giant rolling battery. So special functions in that, there's a lot of like contactor stress tests, reset the counters, reset these. These are different trouble codes that you might find in the battery management system. So it resets those. It just goes in and just performs a reset. Like, watch, I just do that. Reset the battery management system alarm. Going to go in. Going to give it a second. There we go. It's done. Right. That's all it does. It just does a reset. If you have that code and if you've diagnosed that it's not a problem, you can go in and reset it. Simple as that. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, we see the air suspension system. This is another one that has a couple different functions. There's a bunch of other different modules in that have different functions too. But hard reset pressures. So to read the pressures that are in the air suspension. Set the ride height from very high to very low. And then once again, hard and soft resets. Also in these, there is got a component test, like I said. So ABS. So there's the different things that we can test, like wheel speed sensors, signature tests, right? So it shows you where to connect. Shows you what the connector looks like. All the way down there, there's what your waveform should look like. All right, so all that stuff available for the ABS, at least to start. And then also, not sure if you are aware, if you use Shopkey or Mitchell, Shopkey and Mitchell have Tesla information in there as well. So pull this up real quick. Okay, now I will tell you they piece them all out by each individual model, and the repair order data is tied to the model. So 70D is the one we chose. It's got to load through all my options. Use this vehicle. So you're going to see, in this case, 7 repairs. So that's on a 70D. 60D's got a different number of repairs. 100 P100's got a different number of repairs. So they're kind of spread out right now. Plus, I don't know how many aftermarket shops are working on Teslas. I'm sure there's a fair number of them, but as the data comes in, of course, we get more. But things like pads and rotors, tire pressure sensor, headlight bulb, right? Control arms, alignment, lower control arm, brake pads, things like that. Power window motor regulator. I have seen that there's a fair number of problems with those. Same with the door handle. Oh, there it is, door handle right there, right? So we can see what people have been punching in as well, looking stuff up. So that information is all available. On a newer Tesla, like this 2020 Model 3, what that's going to give us is going to give us information on alerts. This was also in the Model S as well. But display service alerts, enter service mode, then tap service alerts, and then it'll tell you about either service fix or customer. And service fix alerts can include important issues along with non-issues. It's common to see service fix alerts that are not important. Customer alerts are the same as those that show up in the display during normal vehicle operation. So that's what you would do. And then to unlock service mode, it gives you the information on how to do that. Enable service mode on the touchscreen. So you're going to touch software, and then you're going to hold the word model, and then type in service to access it, and then you're going to go in and use the user interface of the touchscreen to diagnose the vehicle. And then to disable it, this tells you how to get out of it. So you can just exit service mode as well. And then for some functions on the vehicle, you may need to unlock the gateway. This procedure will unlock the gateway for 90 minutes, and it counts down in seconds for some reason, but you'll see it count down on the screen, on the touch screen. They will lock when the timer is elapsed or when leaving the vehicle and closing the doors. If the gateway needs to be unlocked for longer, just repeat it. And then you can do that. So that's the functionality on the non-OBD2 port Teslas. You can still go in there and access it through the touchscreen on there. And actually, it's pretty comprehensive what you can do with the touchscreen on there. So pretty helpful. All right. So let's get to, that's my high-level overview, or my slightly detailed overview as well. We're almost wrapping up here, but it is time for the shameless plug, of course. So we do a live stream every Tuesday. We do 2 live streams every Tuesday, actually, on our YouTube channel and my Facebook page and on Zoom. They are then recorded to YouTube simultaneously and archived. So you have access to a couple years worth of training, everywhere from ADOS to our OEM-specific training series we've been doing this year and everything in between. There's 97 episodes. I just did that episode 97 yesterday. So there are 97 episodes available for you on YouTube. If you scan that QR code right there, it will bring you to our YouTube channel. Please make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell, all those good things. It helps with that algorithm. And if you want to go directly there, it's youtube.com/SnapOnDiagnostics, all one word. And with that, it is time for questions. So I don't see too many questions tonight. I just see one on YouTube. But if you do have a question and you're on Zoom, because I saw a lot of you join kind of a little after the hour. If you do have a question, just look at the top of the bottom of the screen, find that little Q&A button. It should be with your Zoom control somewhere. Type in your question, and I will do my best to answer it if it's appropriate. Got a couple inappropriate questions last time. Let's see. On YouTube so far, we got Jorge. Truly appreciate the training. Great information. Thank you. And Jay McCall says, I appreciate the detail on the updates as well. So you're very welcome. I'm glad you guys like it. I started doing this, probably 2 years ago, maybe. And people seem to like it. People seem to like that extra additional information over what comes out in the little flyer. What's the best way to experience it is just going on the tool and experiencing it, right? Let's see, we got one on the Zoom. Let's see. Jay says, when my save file is not showing on Altus Drive, what would I look at first? Well, I would start with the chain. So first part of the chain is my Wi-Fi connected? I assume it is, but If it's not, that'll be your first problem. Second thing is if your software is out of date. So you get 6 months on your software plus 1 month grace period to update. So if your software is out of date, you will lose the upload capability to it. You can still access any files that are already there, but you will lose the upload capability. So that's the second thing. Third thing you would check is go into your Snap-on profile and then make sure that the tool is linked. The tool you're using is linked in your profile. That's listed there under your linked scan tools. Those are the three real possibilities. Sometimes if it hasn't been on Wi-Fi in a while, it will take a little while because it has a lot of files that it's trying to upload at the time, and it kind of loads them in date order from oldest to newest. So that could be too if you hadn't had it hooked up to Wi-Fi for a bit and then you did. You can actually check on the tool whether or not it's been uploaded. So let me show you here real quick. I think it was on this one. Oh, maybe not. Well, let's see. On the vehicle history. What did I work on? Take screenshots. No, it was on the Tesla. Maybe on the other one. Tesla. So if you have a Zeus or a Verus, you come down to the vehicle record, you'll see a cloud icon, and if it's got a check mark, that means it has uploaded. If it's white, it has not uploaded. It's going to be a very similar if you go into previous vehicles and data on a non-Windows tool. You would see a white cloud or a cloud with a check mark. So that'll tell you whether or not it's uploaded. And if it's uploaded and you're not seeing it, then you might have two accounts. And I would say you might want to call customer care in that case. But I think those other three things that I mentioned should sort you out. One of them is probably not correct. Thanks for the question. Enhanced force regen for Ram 6.7 diesel engines. I've never been able to do a regen on these to date. Well, let's take a look. Can you give me a year, anonymous attendee? I think I've looked one of these up recently. I think it was maybe a 12. And I was like, maybe not. Could you give me a year, please? I'm just going to, okay, 11 or 12. All right. Like I said, I think I looked one of these up pretty recently. So let's say like a 2500, 7, A, engine. So there are 5 variants. I will just pre-warn you with that. So the test might only show up in some variants and not others. I believe it's a system test. Let's see. Stationary DSOT right there. And you want to, yeah. So stationary DSOT is what they call a regen on those. So you'd be wanting to look for that. And that would bring it through the stationary reset process up to 80 minutes to complete, plus need a warm-up time before the DSOT begins. So it will take a while. You also want to park it away from stuff. I don't know your experience with regens, but make sure it's nothing that can catch on fire around the tailpipe if you haven't done it with that. Okay, so let me back up. And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. It would be, and that's been in there for a little while. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, but there is some confusion there where they call it something different. So it is called a stationary DSOT through them. So it just kind of throws people off. So hopefully that answers your question. Jose asked, Tesla, do I need a DLC connector? Can I to the scan tool? So on the 2012 to 20 S's and the 16 to 20 X's, they have just a regular 16-pin connector and you can plug in. And you can do a code scan and all that other stuff I was showing. If it's a Model Y or a Model 3, they don't have a 16-pin connector, so you would just do it through the touchscreen. There's some stuff you can do on a Model S and a Model X on the touchscreen as well. And then also on the newer S and X models, like 21 to 23, I guess, those don't have a 16-pin connector, so you just do that through the touchscreen. But the scan tool tells you how to get through there. After you do it a couple of times, you can it's pretty easy to remember, but I'll walk you through and give you that information just so you can get in. All right, good stuff. Give it another second because I know we got a bit of a lag on YouTube just to make sure there's no more questions. Here we go. Got another one on Zoom. All right. So he's going to try again on that D set. Thank you very much. All right. All right. With that, I think we have cleared the board. So I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much for spending a little bit of time. Hopefully you learned enough about that new software update to make it dangerous, I guess. There's a whole lot more than what I can cover in a half hour to 45 minutes that I'm allotted. So just know there's way more than we mentioned on the, if I had to print a book, it's a very thick book. Lots of lines of code get written every 6 months. So there's a lot of new tests, a lot of new functions in there. We just try and cover at least the highlights that we think will be pertinent to the majority of people. So with that, thank you very much for attending. Hopefully we'll see you again on one of my other streams. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good night and take care.